think you're reading them and it's now. Yeah. I'm a pretty sleep like this.
See if I take again for the. My office staff. Where are you going? Thank you. Very working with your mom. Like I do. Thank you. I didn't do it. You guys.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Very end. That was yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's right here. I'm gonna watch it. Wherever you went. Not before. You can do that, otherwise you're just harmless. I got any COVID. Now, thank you.
Yeah. And then
My dad was like, he's not thinking they're like, because he's taking his, I think it's definitely on board right now. That's fine. Yeah, it was great. I figured out with you and it's all about my time. The chat thing is really, yeah. And then I opened. So you're. Yeah, I'm still. I'm good at personal brand. I'm gonna fight.
Everybody named Mike. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And they're not gonna let you on that.
Yeah.
How are you? Yeah. No. Just join up.
Southern California. Oh, yeah. When you're so here's you're gonna see her before I. You're probably. Anyway, one thing. Well. It's a process piece for that. Oh, that's nice. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. But I have great profession, like, my house, I'm selling the one that I have.
Yeah, no, tell them they have.
Yeah, how families go. Yes, yes, I said it. And so, and they're, not long ago, they were skiing up there. Were you there?
I saw him and did a road trip with him in June.
Okay.
And then I went to see him. Here.
Does that, can you hear me? Yeah.
They took him to the trip. That's where.
And then that was it.
Well, then they took him home.
All right. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's great to see everybody. And seeing some faces that haven't seen for a while. Are great. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. My name is Nancy Carr-Smith. I'm the president of the Waimea Community Association. With us tonight, board members, Lonnie Olson-Chong is our vice president. Victor Tom is our treasurer. Michaela Bruno is our secretary. Directors are Riley Smith, David Greenwell, Patty Cook, Mary Beth Lachek, and Hannah Bree tonight with us. And we welcome you. Thank you. We want to mahalo Keck Observatories for providing us this space. And Ilihia Johnson is Keck's Chief Public Affairs Officer, and he's here to welcome himself.
Hey, lovely Paco. Mahalo nui for joining us. Mahalo for being in this space with us. We always love having our community here with us. I want to introduce two of my colleagues who are here tonight. We have in the far corner there our Chief Administrative and Legal Officer, Andrew Odell. The joke is the two of us cannot sit on the same side of the picnic table. And sharing in that restriction, one of our software engineers here, Brother Matthew Brown. Fun fact, people think we have all astronomers working here at the observatory. We actually have more software engineers than astronomers. We have more mechanical engineers than astronomers. We have more lots of things than astronomers. Astronomy is a very diverse set of skills. It takes a diverse set of skills to run an observatory, a 24/7 operation in a really extreme environment. So we welcome you guys to come visit us anytime to learn a little bit more about what we do. If anyone needs to use the Lua, it's on the back side of this wall. So you can go past Andrew, out this door, and hook 2 rights, and you'll find the restrooms. I want to welcome our speakers this evening. So our brothers from Pōhakuloa, mahalo for being here. You know, Pōhakuloa provides so much in terms of first responder protection along Saddle Road, yes, but also up at the summit. Because they're the closest, if something happens, the Mauna Kea Rangers do go and help first, and the next folks who get there come from Pōhakuloa Fire. So mahalo nui for that. As well as our Hawaii Police Department. You got all the bosses here tonight, huh? Mahalo nui. Queens Hospital. Good to see you guys. Mahalo for being here. Our neighbors across the street. And also such a really important part of Waimea. You know, so much of Queen Emma's story has to do with Waimea. I was so happy to see when Queens came to be a part of the community in the hospital. In the 1874 election with Kalakaua, Waimea was definitely Emma country. So maybe that's why she made the hospital. I don't know, we'll see. The last one I wanted to call out, and it's a story that goes to the name of this room. So this room is the Jerry Nelson Conference Room, named for a professor at the University of California who had this idea, because you can only make a mirror so big before it starts to sag under its own weight. The bigger you mirror, the more light you can collect, the fainter stuff you can see, the farther stuff you can see. But you can only make them so big. So this guy, Jerry Nelson, for whom this conference room is named, tried to figure out, okay, how can we make bigger mirrors? And he found inspiration from bees. Looking at the hives, looking at the honeycombs, he figured out, hey, wait a minute. What if we make this mirror out of a bunch of segments? These hexagons. So if you look at our logo, it's hexagons, because hexagonal segments is how we were able to build a mirror bigger than 8 meters, and how we were able to build the largest telescopes in the world for a time. If you're one bigger than us, then it's like one copy of Keck, but a little bit bigger, but never mind. Mauna Kea no Ko'oi. So, we're so happy to have our friends to tell the story of beekeeping here in Waimea. So, all that said, mahalo nui for being here, and thank you to the Waimea Community Association for always thinking of us. Mahalo.
Really, yeah. All right, moving right along. If you haven't already done so, we encourage you to become a member. And we have a new category of membership based on requests from organizations and businesses that wanted to join. So we now have that available. Information is at the desk there and on our website. So thank you very much. Please be aware of the timer presenters. Gotta watch David right here. You know what your timing is like, and we'll keep you on track. Mahalo nui to our IT crew, Michaela and Mary Beth. Appreciate you guys. Tonight we have some wonderful treats over here on this side. Please help yourself. Mahalo to Parker Ranch friends, Bridget and Hannah for bringing the goodies. We also have some flyers over here, Kahilo's update for April, and Tutu's house is over there. And also, we have an updated version of all of our meetings for the year. There's a couple of focus, but for the most part, we know where we're at on that. So trying to make it easy for you to plan. Want to especially note that next month, May 7th is going to be a special meeting at Kahilo Town Hall. It's on emergency preparedness, lessons learned from fires, tsunami, and storms. And what are we going to do next time? So that's going to be a good meeting. We hope you can join us. Hi, Jacob. Oh, all right. So for our opening pule, we continue the tradition of honoring and respecting the various faith-based groups in Waimea. And tonight we have Pastor Sione Tellini from New Hope Waimea. Pastor.
Well, I'm very honored to be here. You know, I was just thinking about this place we call Waimea. What a beautiful place it is. It's called, you know, God's country for a reason. And I'm just so honored to be here and be with you guys. So we're just going to open up in prayer. You bow your head with me. Heavenly Father, we come to you and thank you for this time. Thank you for the breath of life, because all our plans without your breathing breath of life to us can't do anything. So we're just so honored, Lord, to ask for your blessing tonight, as our community come together. I pray that you bless every person here and throughout our community, all our kupunas and everyone, Lord. I just pray your blessing on everyone tonight. I pray that you keep everyone safe. I pray for wisdom, understanding in all the different departments and everyone that coming together to co-labor together, Lord, and as a community coming together. I pray your blessing on every one of them. We thank you for everything you bless us with, especially the breath of life. And we thank you for all our families and neighbors, Lord. I just pray that you bless everyone tonight. Keep everyone safe, take everyone home safely. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening. Appreciate it. Police update. We have Captain Valera here tonight to give an update on what's going on in the district. Come, Cap. Thank you.
Aloha. You know, I just want to reiterate what Pastor Tellini said that, every time I go to Hilo or Kona for a meeting, people always ask me, how's it going out in God's country? And that really is true. You know, Waimea really is a special place and we really enjoy working out here. At this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to our community police officer, Justin Kabanting, for some crime and traffic information.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Cap. For our crime, I'll go over real quick because we got only 5 minutes and Captain wants to take the 4 minutes, so. For the month of March, we did have 8 assaults, 2 burglaries, 7 criminal property damage cases initiated. We did have 14 thefts, 3 stolen vehicles and 1 vehicle broken into. So our officers are out there enforcing those laws. For the month of March, traffic, our officers in South Kuala issued 310 citations. The highest, again, were regulatory and unsafe. And they were able to get 4 DUI arrests. They also addressed 5 abandoned vehicle calls. And we did have 6 major traffic collisions in the South Kuala district. Before I give it back to the captain, I just wanted to make some announcements real quick. Our next Coffee with a Cop is gonna be Monday, April 13th. And that's gonna be at the Haiko Coffee Shop at Pōhakuloa Highlands. And it's gonna start at 8:30, so please come on down and join us, come talk story. But I'll give it back to the captain.
Okay, for the next 30 minutes, I'm watching Mr. Greenwood. You know, when you call 911 or when you call 935-3311, you get to talk to one of our very special dispatchers. They're called police communications officers. And for the month of April, the week of April 12 to 18 is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And so we are honoring our dispatchers during that week. And, they are the first voice of the police department that you hear when you call for help. And what they do is they gather all the important information and they radio it to us island-wide. And they are the ones that send us to go help you guys. So we really appreciate our police radio dispatchers. And again, we're honoring them during National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 12 to 18. I also wanted to say that, the police department has a big heart for our Special Olympic athletes. And during the month of April, I believe it's April 25, we have the Troy Barboza Law Enforcement Torch Run. That's going to be in Kona. And let me back up. The week before, the Saturday before that is the Torch Run in Hilo. So if you'd like to come out and support, it's a great cause. And I'm not much of a runner myself, but I did it a few years and it's more of a trot. Okay, so if you can trot, come on down and join us. First Hawaiian Bank in Kona on Saturday, April 25th at 7 a.m. I believe is registration. And we have more information in our newsletter, which went out today. We had some technical difficulties earlier, but if you have signed up for our newsletter, more information on the Special Olympics Torch Run is in the newsletter. And if you have any questions or would like to sign up for our newsletter, come see me or Justin after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. All right, before we move on with the rest of the program, I wanted to set the protocol and expectations for tonight. We're proud to host our esteemed guests who will share their goals and projects that benefit our community. I respectfully remind you that we in this room will treat our guests and each other with aloha, and we won't stand for anything less than that. If anyone decides to challenge this, you'll be asked to leave the meeting. But as noted on your agenda, we'll have Q&A after the presenters have shared, and we'll remind you, Lonnie and I will be holding the mic and we'll be asking for questions and not comments. So we appreciate your understanding with that. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to hand the reins to board member Hannah Bree to introduce our nonprofit spotlight. Thanks, Hannah.
Aloha, everyone.
Wow.
My name's Hannah. I'm the newest board member. Thrilled to have joined the WCA. Our nonprofit spotlight tonight is on the Hawaii Beekeeping Legacy Project. Our board members, I think Nancy, Ryan's not here today, and Victor will go around passing the baskets near the end of the presentation if you so choose to donate to this cause. The presentation will be made by Leandra Rouse. She was born and raised in South Kona to a legendary Kona beekeeper, Gus Rouse. And in 2018, she returned here to the islands to start and raise her family right here in Waimea. What began as a personal tribute to her father on his 75th birthday grew into this impressive multimedia exhibition that celebrates the island's beekeeping history, local ag, and the global importance of Hawaii Island's farming communities. And Leandra will share more.
Hi, everybody. Let me hold this. Thank you for having me. My name is Leandra. I've been home about 10 years now, and it's really fun to see. I feel like I know pretty much everyone in this room. That feels really good. I live in Waimea. I was raised on a bee farm in Kona, and I'm a lifelong resident on the Big Island. And I came in tonight because I wanted to personally invite all of you to please come into the Hawaii Island Beekeeper Legacy Project. I'm hosted at Anna Ranch in partnership with them, and I'm there through the end of May. And it's a multimedia exhibit showcasing the history of beekeeping on the island, showcasing beekeeping as a profession. There's a documentary, there's a live hive, there's something for everyone. It's really neat and it's free, and I have so many field trips booked. I thought, how do I get more adults to come and visit? I'm proud to say I actually have over 700 students booked, which has far exceeded our expectations of what we thought was going to happen. We're running field trips 2 to 3 times every single day. I'm learning a lot about young child education. But it's really, I did make it to be geared to all ages. And so I really want to invite you to come in. Did you guys know that beekeeping started with ranching right here in Waimea? A.W. Carter brought honeybees over from Molokai to support the cattle industry through kiawe trees for protein and also shade for the cattle. And what they got was a great byproduct, which is delicious kiawe honey. So for 50 plus years, Parker Ranch and Hind Ranch ran bees in this area from Waimea to Kauai down to Manalani. Huge bee honey production. After that, the Yano and Goto families took over. I'm sure many of you in this room know Yanos and Gotos. They're here still today. And so for about 100 years, beekeeping in Hawaii was based right here in our district. It's pretty cool history, and a lot of people don't know that. I did this exhibit in Kona last year. We were open for 4 months down there. And then I was lucky enough to get the Richard Smart grant to deepen the research as it relates to Parker Ranch. And I've had the honor of getting to know a lot of the ranchers. I'm honored to be here with you guys tonight and to get into that research. And it's a really neat legacy, right? It's Parker Ranch, it's beekeeping, it's all of our vegetable farmers. Just Waimea has such a rich agriculture history, and it's such a unique part of being from the islands that so many people don't understand. But when you're from an agriculture family, you know it well. And I just wanted to honor it and celebrate it and build some hometown pride. So again, I invite you in. I'm going to show you a 1-minute trailer for a documentary that I created honoring, oh, sorry, my slides haven't been going at all. That's okay. Here I am. Nice to meet you. Here's my exhibit.
Just say next slide.
Yeah, next slide, please. But as I mentioned, the exhibit is really brought in way more people than we were expecting. I've had, we've been open a month and a half. I've had close to 1,500 visitors. And again, I have 700 students booked. So I will say exciting and taking a bit more resources than we realized. So tonight, my ask is, if you can, please contribute to the exhibition. It helps me keep these students coming in and engaged. And it helps me to go even further, because I have to say my favorite part in Waimea is talking story with everybody comes in. I learn something every single day. I had Francis Reynolds blow my mind this week telling me about beekeeping in Pōhakuloa in the early 1900s. So you guys have the stories. So please come in and share them with me. And at the end, I will put all of it into the Kona Historical Society archive, which is a really neat agriculture archive. So hope you enjoy the trailer and see you at Anna Ranch.
Question,
Yes.
who are checks made payable to?
If you're supporting the exhibit, Kona Historical Society is my fiscal sponsor.
Okay, next up, we have Stephany Nihipali Vaioleti she is the president of Queens North Hawaii Community Hospital. Before coming to Waimea, Stephany was the deputy director for the nonprofit Holomua Collective. Prior to that, she held the position of community engagement navigator with Hawaii Energy, focusing on energy efficiency and equity. Stephany was also the senior VP at HMSA and the CEO at Kahuku Medical Center. Stephany received a bachelor and master of social work from UH Manoa and Juris Doctor from Richardson School of Law. Born and raised in the Ko'olauloa area of Oahu, she's the mother of two daughters, ages 25 and 18, and comes from a large extended ohana. Stephany and her husband Doug have now made Waimea their home since she assumed her new role in October of 23. With Stephany tonight is the new Chief of Staff, Dr. Michael Aldridge. We welcome you both. Thanks so much for being here.
Aloha, everyone. So good to be back. I think I got here when I first started, was able to introduce myself and share a little bit about the hospital, and happy to be back with you. So wanted to give some updates. I know you guys, especially if you guys are walking in the back on Pukalani, a lot of activity going on. So just wanted to give some updates on the hospital. So next slide. Next slide. All right, so one of the exciting things is that we just, 3 years ago, we became a level 3 trauma center by the American College of Surgeons. So there's actually 2 certifications. You can get a state certification, and then you can get this one, which is a little more stringent. So we were certified 3 years ago, and we just got recertified. So there's a lot of that goes into that. I'm just really proud of the team. To be able to continue having that service here in Waimea. Next slide. All right, so there was a lot of brush cleaning, we wanted to minimize our risk for fire, especially last summer. And so we had cleared out all of the land behind the hospital. And we also had, a number of fires from homeless encampments, a lot of chickens, a lot of animals back there as well. So we're able to clear that out. But if you look now, with all the rain, it's all growing back. So we just can't keep up with it. Next slide. All right, so you will see the solar farm, our little solar farm back there. It's about 1 acre. It probably looks a little bit bigger than that. That project was in process before I got here. So that's taken about 5 or 6 years to get to fruition. It will go live in April and it will offset our energy by about 25%, which is really, really big for us because we pay over $1 million in just our electricity bills for the hospital to run everything almost 24/7, right? So with the savings for that, we can really do more in meeting our mission, right? So I think there's a lot of competing priorities. And the decision was made to do this one. Not necessarily that has to stay there forever. Mike and I have been talking for a really long time and, just figuring out what's best for the community and what makes the most sense. And so we're happy to get that online this month, April. Yes. Next slide. Okay, so there's a lot of activity back there, a lot of trailers, a lot of equipment. And if you're a patient, there's some noise. So really appreciate your patience. We have our biggest air handler project that has not been replaced. That's the original air handler in the hospital. So it is being replaced. It's almost a $25 million project. That's been in the queue for the last 8 years. We hope to be done by fall of this year. So I know, I'm getting comments from the surveys. We really try to minimize the work being done at night, but unfortunately, we have to keep that timeline tight in order to reach our goal. We just had we had to shut off our plan for shutting off all of our oxygen and gas throughout the hospital. And we did it, we planned for 12 hours for all of that to go down, and we did it in 7. And so just really appreciate all of our team and all of our stakeholders and our contractors to be able to get it done in a safe and efficient manner. All right, next one. And community engagement. And so just really, we love serving our community, and all of our staff are really committed to our mission. And so the opportunity to work with Parker School, their medical club came and wanted to thank all of our staff for the really bad car accident, for all the time and energy spent in caring for the students and families. We did have Medtronic Service Day. We love our volunteers. I think we have right now about 25 to 30 volunteers regularly that come and help in our gift shop, sit with patients, help with stocking, restocking, pet therapy. Really grateful for them. And then you'll see our stroke team. They're doing out at quarterly at our midweek farmers market. I know we are going to have a presence at Mary Monarch as well, and at different engagements. Oh, and we'll be at Parker Ranch at their employee health fair on May 1st. Next slide. It's an airport air transport update. So we do have actually 2 new companies that are providing service on this island. So we have Hawaii Life Flight, and then we have Life Flight Network. Not that gets confusing or anything. And then we have Optimum Air, and they have limited hours, but being able to increase access has been really, really important. Still working on different processes and making sure that we're working with everyone fairly and equitably. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Aldridge. It's been a pleasure working with him so far, and he can introduce himself as well.
So I feel like I've seen a lot of faces in here. Not allowed to say that, but one of the challenges I think with physicians is we see a lot of the community and the patients, and we feel like we walk around the city and kind of know people, but we don't know that we know them. But it's been a pleasure being part of the North Hawaii Hospital. I've been here about 4.5 years as a practicing cardiologist. In August, 6 months ago, I took over as chief of staff, which has been actually a fun exploration of capabilities, seeing challenges, and working with a huge group of really great physicians. So I did want to make a plug for them. You know, North Hawaii has quite a good handful of really nice, passionate, good physicians, and I want you all to be aware of that. And they're part of the larger MEC. As chief of staff, one of my oversights is of those physicians, and so I get to know them pretty well. I get to see how we can best utilize our clinical skill sets and help everybody. So I think this slide is a plug for cardiology, which is maybe self-serving for me, but we've been growing for about 4.5 years, and we primarily focus on outpatient clinic and non-invasive diagnostic imaging. So cardiac CT, cardiac MRI, echocardiography. We also do pacemaker management, loop recorders. So anything that's non-cath lab based or surgical based. And we grew into hiring on the prior slide, Dr. Najamawan. So he joined us in, I think, 5 months ago, something like that. So we're open for business. We're accepting new patients, not just our clinic, but the other clinics. So if you need clinical help, your family needs clinical help, please think of coming to North Hawaii. Next slide, please. So branching off of cardiology, we have a lot of specialty services that we've had. Many of these have been part of the hospital for quite a while. You know, I would point out the Women's Center and the birthing unit. I think these have been very integral parts of the community and part of the North Hawaii Hospital. And so I'm glad we're able to provide those services. The other one I was going to mention is our cancer center. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but our infusion center is one of the busiest in the state. And so we provide a great deal of care, not just for the community, but the Big Island as a whole. The challenges I think that face medicine for all of us, and you may have experiences as patients, is coverage, finding physicians, finding nurses to deliver that care. And so, you know, that has hit the oncology service line and cancer center as well, but we are extremely active as a hospital and a physician group, especially within the MEC, of doing our best to keep that stabilized. It's very important to us. So I just wanted to add that reassurance to everyone. And I'll leave the rest of the service lines here for people to look at, but are you able to see that slide okay? Yeah, great. And that's it. I think there's some more to talk about the Kona expansion, so I'll give that back to Stephany. Thank you so much.
This is our last slide. Okay, so I think everybody knows, right? We announced that we're going to build a new hospital. This is actually between Costco and Kaiser in Kona. And so it's a collaboration between Hawaii Health Systems Corporation, or HHSC. So we work very closely with their leadership team, as well as our team, in trying to figure out who's going to be doing what. And in fact, right before this, I had a meeting to talk about that. So we're really trying to understand, you know, current access in all the different specialties, and then understanding, you know, who has capacity, you know, what makes the most sense. So thank you. And so still a lot of conversation, and there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be put into that, because we're digging into really hard lava. I look at Riley because he's been instrumental in this project. And so, yeah, more to come, but that's where we are right now. The state has been instrumental, you know, they've been having a lot of conversations with philanthropy and just seeing how we can make this work within the next 5 to 7 years. And I think those are all of our updates. You know, even building out this in Kona, I just took a look at all of our employees, their zip codes, and about 20% of our employees, you know, drive up from that side to work in Waimea, right? So it will have an impact on us as well. And so housing, that's something that we've been talking about. I've been talking about it with Micah. and trying to figure out, I know it's not only, in healthcare, it's everywhere. How do we crack that nut to be able to meet the needs of all of our, employees and people who really want to stay here and continue growing their families in, God's country. All right, any questions? Yes.
Hold on, I'm coming with the mic.
Oh, okay. So I worked in college for many years and people are really into buildings, they like making buildings. But my immediate thought is the money for the staff. I mean, we have problems with nurses and doctors and all. And so is it just going to deplete the staff that's here? Or is there really going to be enough money for new staff that really can cover that?
Yeah, great question. I think everybody knows, right? Our birth rates are going down, and we have a whole bunch of people getting older, right? So we don't have enough workforce actually currently, and in the next couple of years, it's going to get harder. So I always encourage, students, if you want a job forever and you want to travel the world, go into healthcare. You can get a job you can go on a boat, you can go, international, you have a skill set that is in high demand right now. And so healthcare industry, that's where I encourage a lot of folks to, there's so many different opportunities that you can go into. And it's one of our biggest challenges is workforce development. We're starting from young all the way up, right? And being able to, what does that ladder look like for people interested going into a helping profession?
So in the short term, the answer is it's going to spread us much thinner.
Much thinner, yes. It is. I don't have any good news right now. It's going to get harder. Yep.
Other questions? I have one. Is there any plans to build a radiology department? Radiation therapy in Waimea?
Yes, so those are part of our conversations with Kona. What would a cancer center look like up here in Waimea? So those are ongoing conversations.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Is Queen Hospital still following the Queen's legacy where the Kikio Kraina get free healthcare?
Oh, yes. I do not have I know those are not, how would I? There's been some discussion of that, but I think our mission is really to provide excellent healthcare for Native Hawaiians and all of the people of Hawaii. So currently we do not offer free healthcare. We can do reduced or, depending on people's income, right? Reduced rates. There isn't a specific program. We do work with other Native Hawaiian organizations that may be able to support those requests. But yeah, if you have a specific incident, please feel free to reach out to me.
Here, Patty.
Hi there, question. Have you experienced an impact from the shifting sands from the federal funding sources?
A little bit. A lot of them are going to take place next year, 2027. And so really being able to, there's the Rural Transformation Grant that the state just received. And so being able to utilize those monies to be able to prepare for some of those cuts, that's a lot of the work that's going on right now. So, right now we're still in this kind of fee for service or heads and beds, right, model. And we're trying to figure out how to transform to value-based care, right? Trying to keep you out of the emergency room, get paid more for that versus a visit to the emergency room. So a lot of work, a lot of swirl still going on, but a lot of those cuts aren't going to happen until next year. That's it. Thank you very much.
Stephany, who's your
Oh, you said me. Oh, Riley's yes. I'm so excited to have him join us.
Thanks, Steph. Appreciate the update. All right, next on the agenda, Lieutenant Colonel Tim Alvarado is the commander of Pōhakuloa Training Area. Tim was born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina, graduated from Clemson University and commissioned from the ROTC program into the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Tim later attended the U.S. Army Special Forces Assessment and Selection and Special Forces Qualification course at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And upon graduation was assigned to the 1st Special Forces Group at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington. He served several positions at many levels to include U.S. Army Special Operations Command, 1st Special Forces Command, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Pacific, NATO Special Operations Command Afghanistan, and U.S. Embassy Manila. Lieutenant Colonel Alvarado deployed multiple times to the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific regions. He's married and has 2 daughters and shares the fact that he and his ohana have thoroughly enjoyed their time here on the Big Island. Commanders at PTA come and go, and they make a footprint and an impression on our residents here. They become part of our community and our extended ohana. And I wanted to take this opportunity to mahalo you, Tim, for your participation in our community over the last 3 years and to thank you for your service.
Hello, everybody. I think I know a few of the folks in the room, some familiar faces, but as Nancy, thanks to Nancy and the association. It's been an interesting 3 years. I just opened with that, but it's been a rewarding position. But before I start talking about kind of updates for PTA, Waimea has been our home for the past 3 years, and much like Roy and everybody else has mentioned, it is God's country, and we will be sad to leave. I'll talk about my replacement in a second after the update, but it is forthcoming. But this truly has been a second family to us here in Waimea, for the group and folks like Nancy and Riley and the rest of the association, Councilmember Eustace as well, and everybody else, Parker team, fantastic, and glad to be a part of this larger ohana, particularly here in Waimea. So thanks, and thanks for having me tonight to give a little bit of update of PTA. It's not everything, but hopefully it's a little bit that we can give to help out with, in terms of what we provide here in the community. So I don't know if slides are up, but okay. So I just have one slide and a map, so we shouldn't have any technical difficulties, so make it simple. But I'll kind of talk off some of these talking points, and then any questions that may come off of that, anything that's on here or anything that's not depicted on here. So I'll start off with kind of training, typical for anybody that's driving by PTA this month and next month. As you'll see, we got some training coming up in April and coming in May. So you'll see some influx of folks coming from Kauai High up to PTA. And then in May, you will see some aircraft. So our Ospreys from our Marines, hopefully they're not flying over Waimea, Jacob. But yes, we'll make sure that's not happening for any conflicts here. But as you guys will know, they'll be in and out training for the next couple of months, and then we'll have a little break once they leave in May. But that's pretty much it for training. Really, the meat and bones for our update is kind of the next couple of topics that we'll talk about. Emergency response. I know we had already kind of talked about that in many cases already for some future. I think the next association meeting is going to talk some of that stuff for preparation based on a lot of the recent events and historically speaking, kind of our role in terms of what we provide in terms of emergency response. So I'll start off with kind of our fire department in terms of the big piece for us and what we support. I know Nancy and some of the other folks have mentioned what we provide here, in the middle of the island, all the way up to here in Waimea as well. There was some conversation recently that, we had closed the fire department. That's not necessarily true. We did, however, for a very short period of time, had to run off a very limited staff, just due to some folks leaving. We had some folks, move on to some better jobs. They got promoted and we had a couple retired folks. So, we did have to kind of limit and restrict that 1 day period. Just happened to be staffing shifts change for about 12 hours. And that was, I believe some of you might have seen it in the news media and stuff like that. So that was a very, very, very short period of time that we very limited, what our capabilities were. But we are up and running as normal. So we are continuing to provide that support, along BKI Highway and up, Mauna Kea Access Road as well, supporting observatories up there. So no change to that. So I highlighted in here incident responses and kind of, again, kind of our role there in the middle of the island of everything from mile marker, basically pretty much halfway up DKI on the Hilo side, all the way down, to the junction there, in Mauna so, and all the way up Mauna Kea. So in this past year, from January to December 2025, our team responded to about 67 calls. So if you look at that over the course of 52 weeks in the year, it's at least once a week that we've responded to something. Most of those have been motor vehicle accidents. So I'm gonna throw a piece out there for our police department. Lots of folks that are just driving unsafely on that highway. So unfortunately, that kind of results in a lot of motor vehicular accidents, several that were fatal. You guys have probably seen in the news that caused a lot of fatalities due to those vehicle actions that our team was on the scene to support the county and respond to those events. So just wanted to put that out there. And again, it's a lot of the other stuff that's not just on DKI Highway, but we also respond to the folks up Mauna Kea because again, there's no medical capabilities on the Mauna. So we're the first and the closest that usually gets up there from anybody that's feeling faint from altitude sickness, or just we have some folks that get lost on some of the trails out there that the park rangers kind of call for help to retrieve those folks or get them to safe elevation or whatever that care may need. And again, eventually take them to either Queens North here or potentially down to Hilo, whichever what type of care they need. So that's kind of what our team does. In addition to that, interoperability training, we're continuing to do that with our county folks. I don't think there's any HFD in the room or online. If they are, we're continuing to help train those folks. So every fire academy, we just recently had some of the recruits from HFD, the county. Those guys regularly come up to train with our team up at PTA. All things from structural firefighting to wildland firefighting to airfield firefighting as well. So they get a lot of that training there up at PTA. So again, those who are not familiar, we don't just train the military at PTA, we also train a lot of other folks. We have some of our HVD folks that come up there pretty frequently, as well as our HFD more often than not. I've got the stewardship up there as well, because just recently we actually worked with Max and the team up on Mauna Kea to do some additional rescue training with our firefighters, because again, they're all alone and afraid up on Mauna Kea. So we were teaching them kind of some rope training, rope access, things like that for them. In the event that they need it, they have that training, those skill sets to be able to deploy up there next to the observatory. So again, working with a lot of those partnerships, the stewardship and a lot of other folks being able to make sure that we're able to respond in any manner that we need to in that regard. The last thing I've got on here, the Big Island Communications Working Group. So that's been a kind of an initiative with us and HFD and the county to kind of get together all of the different collaborative agencies across really Hawaii County at this point. But we also have a lot of state folks that are involved in that. What that's going to look like is, and this was kind of one of my assistant chiefs of training has been kind of heading this with folks like our new fire marshal here in the state and the county to kind of get together to figure out how do we better communicate in times of emergencies? Because we all know, again, just like his recent, all the way back when we look at Lahaina, communication is important. So we want to make sure that we have the requisite communications in terms of frequencies and actual interoperability from the systems that we have from the different radio systems that also talk to all of our different emergency responders, whether that's police, fire,
our aircraft that are coming in, whether that's county aircraft or even our National Guard or active duty aircraft as they're coming around supporting things like wildland fires. We've got to be able to talk to them. So we found out that we have some gaps. That's also with folks like being able to talk to the folks in the observatory. We have some very interesting terrain here on the Big Island to contend with when it comes to frequencies and things like that. So this is kind of the intent of that communications working group. And that'll hopefully feed into the larger kind of things like civil defense and everybody else that here is being able to support that. That communication capability, because we all know that at the end of the day, in terms of emergency response, the first thing that we need to make sure the priority is being able to communicate effectively. So kind of not necessarily shifting gears, but talking about in terms of community partnerships, I'll kind of go on to the next slide in a second, but federal programs and grants, those two acronyms there, DSIP and REPI, are really Department of Defense, Department of War programs that we work with. Can you shift to the next slide, the map? So I'll talk about this based off of this map. Sorry, you can't read it, but I'll kind of point out what it's kind of showing here. So this is really a lot of our community partnership programs. When we talk about federal grants and stuff that kind of help support a lot of our partners outside of PTA's boundaries, you'll see the kind of there in the middle, that black outline around the blue, and then if you're kind of oriented, if you're familiar with the map, of course, everybody knows the Big Island. Just below that big blue patch there, that outline is PTA. So a lot of all these projects are outside of PTA, but I'll kind of go through specifically again what those things are doing and how we're kind of helping out in that regard in terms of some of these programs. So just at the top of the map there, Nancy had asked me to kind of provide an update on this because there's that one acronym, Defense Critical Infrastructure Program. So those are projects that both mutually support the community and us as the military, as well as everybody else that would partake in this capability. So one of those projects that's still ongoing is with DLNR and DOFA. So that's helping support to build a warehouse out there just right next to Waimea. That is going to be a wildland fire warehouse for them to be able to help store some of the capabilities. As we had seen during the line of fires, we had our 3 fires here. So stuff like that to be able to support that. The other little red square is a project out in Waimea with the HHL that is going to help emergency communications center. So again, going back to communications, we're going to be that grant, it's about a $6 million project, working with folks like Uncle Mike Hodson and those guys out there. That's going to support that communication system that they're building just back here at Waimea. So some of the other little polygons and amoebas that we've got depicted on this map, if we zoom back out, partnerships with folks like, I know we're working with Parker Ranch on some of these things. We've got a reforestation project that we're trying to start initiating and completing out there, that little yellow patch inside the blue. We've got our folks to the west in the Pu'u region now by Pu'uawa. So those green little amoebas there, a lot of those are conservation, invasive species management, things like wildland fire mitigation for fire breaks and things like that. But we also have some stuff. So the purple up there towards Kauai High, that's working in partnership with our University of Hawaii folks. So we're doing a lot of research things for watershed because we do have a piece there in Kauai High Harbor that we manage there across from the commercial port, working with them on the watershed and some other wildland fire kind of mitigation for, again, water sources and stuff like that up on Kahala Mountain. We also have a project there in the little legend on the right. So we have stuff all the way out to Hilo Bay. So that's a coastal resiliency fund project that we're also supporting through that REPI acronym that I mentioned before. Again, looking at the water quality for things that come off of those watersheds that go and end up in Hilo Bay. So again, there's a lot of stuff that's going out there. Again, a lot of these partnerships are with a lot of our agencies, folks like the LNR, private organizations, our counties, state, and other federal agencies that we work adjacent to. So wanted to show this just to kind of show a lot of the stuff that's working out there. One of our big mediaries, if you will, is University of Hawaii. That's kind of helping us aggregate a lot of these conservation wildfire, wildlife conservation, preservation, things that we're working to. We just recently were designated here in Hawaii as a Sentinel Landscapes. So that's a kind of trilateral federal effort between the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Department of Interior, and the Department of War, where we have converging objectives to be able to look at a lot of these different landscapes, if you will. So things like we're trying to help protect that are adjacent to military lands, things like agricultural lands. So a lot of the biosecurity conversations that we're working with that Sentinel landscape community, we have a part in that because of the adjacency to PTA. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of efforts that we're working with a lot of our partners on things. There's a lot of goats and sheep out there that we're also trying to help mitigate with our Big Island Invasive Species Council and the Department of Transportation and things like that. For those of you who see those guys transiting from Waikoloa down to Hilo often. So I could talk for days on a lot of this stuff, but I just want to kind of depict this just to kind of show again. It's not all necessarily in Waimea here, but again, in terms of PTA, because of where we are, being the installation here on the island, there's a lot of mutual things that we do just because of us being who we are as an installation for Department of the Army. So, and then the last, if you can go back to the last slide real quick. The last thing is the hunting program. So I know we've got some hunters here. We just recently talked to the Game Management Commission folks about some stuff, trying to get some more headway on that. Our biggest thing is really our capacity to be able to support a lot of that. So we're working with DoCare and some of our other folks to help us support that. The GMAC now, hopefully we'll get some headway to provide some more consistency for some of the hunts that we can manage there on PTA. And we'll talk some more about that hopefully in the near future, but we're starting to get that back up and work with more consistency for those hunters to come out and do some game hunting. So I'll stop there. You're about to give me the warning. Any questions?
Excellent, thank you. Questions?
That was extremely informative. Is this written down somewhere so that we don't have to try to remember it all?
Yes, I'll have my public affairs officer try to send this to the association and get it out to you guys, but we are terrible PR folks, so we apologize as the Army. So yeah, that's probably on record now, so sorry. Any other questions?
Other questions?
If we can go back to the map, what, we've done a lot around here of unexploded ordnance and, cleaning that up. What area, if we can see the map again, what area is active now where we're gonna have new unexploded ordnance in that map?
Yeah, so I can't speak on behalf, so that's a Corps of Engineers project, so they are the ones, basically the executive agent for all of the unexploded ordnance.
Okay, what I'm really asking
Oh,
is what is actively being bombed right now?
Oh, yeah, sure. So let me put this up for a second. So when we talk about PTA, so this is the boundary. I don't know if you guys can see it. So this is PTA. So this is the Keamuku parcel. DKI highway kind of runs towards this. This little gray area here, not all of that, but that's generally what we're talking about. And that's all the federal side towards Mauna Loa. That when we talk about any of our munitions training, that's going into that general area. So, yeah. Hope that answered.
That answered it.
Yes. And just one last thing. So I got with me Command Sergeant Major Cromer, and then my soon-to-be replacement, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Park. So we will be switching out at the end of May. So my face will change. His face will be on everything. So he will be my replacement in about 2 months. So thanks, Lizzie.
You.
Thank you, Kim, for that update and for your service here. Next up on the agenda, we have Micah Kane from Parker Ranch. She's the president and CEO of Parker Ranch, Inc. Well, as we all know, one of the largest, most historic ranches in the United States, right here in God's country. He assumed full-time leadership in September of 25, bringing decades of experience in land stewardship, organizational leadership, and community investment. Prior to joining Parker Ranch, Micah served as CEO of the Hawaii Community Foundation. During his tenure, HCF played a pivotal role in helping Hawaii respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and the Lahaina wildfires. His leadership journey also includes serving as chair of the DHHL, CEO of Pacific Links International, and he's been a trustee at Kamehameha Schools. Micah is married to Joelle Kane, principal at Gallagher Kane Attorneys at Law. And together they have 3 daughters as well as 3 granddaughters. And joining Micah tonight is Zachary Judd, who is the VP of Regional Planning and Long-Term Strategy for Parker Ranch. Zach is also responsible for stewarding Parker Ranch's forest and conservation lands and serves as the lead for the ranch's in-house wildfire team. Both Zach and his wife Bridget, also here tonight, have worked for numerous conservation and land stewardship programs across Hawaii Island and live in Waimea. Welcome, Micah. Thank you.
Mahalo, aloha kako. Mahalo for that introduction. Before I get into my comments, I wanted to just put a face to Parker Ranch a little bit and acknowledge a couple of the people who are with us this evening. We have representatives from our board of directors of Parker Ranch Inc. Robbie Hine up here on my right. Thank you, Robbie, for your leadership. Also the chair of our beneficiary committee, a wonderful lady that has been very important in my transition and very helpful, Sandra Gooley. Sandra, you can raise your hand. Then we also have members of our team that are present that is joining Zach and I this evening. Our chief of staff, Anu Alapai, if you can raise your hand. Anu. We have head of our livestock, VP of livestock, and also our new business ventures, Jacob Tavares up there in the front. Heading up our land development division, VP of land development is Kat Luga in the back. Then one of our newest employees, who's heading up our human resource specialist, Liko Leleivi, there in the back. Finally, and thank you for your patience, my colleague, our administrator of our office, and my assistant, Mel Sanchez. So thank you for. We actually have one more person. You've probably seen her here. She comes to every meeting. She joined Zach, and then hopefully you'll see a lot more of me as well. But with us is Sarah Blaine, who heads up our public relations and government affairs. I think she was here earlier. Thank you for the presence. I spent my first 6 months here living on ranch, and I think that was one of the best decisions I made. I had an opportunity to live next to one of our cowboys, Dustin Hawai, one of our younger guys, and I think it was during those 6 months where I really realized what a privilege we have as employees to work for the ranch. And so I was grounded in this for 6 months, and then from that gave me a good perspective of how we wanted to approach our work. If we can go to the first slide. I think it's important for us to remember, what our purpose is and our mission is as employees of Parker Ranch. We're born out of the generosity of Mr. Richard Smart, and this was right out of his trust to maintain his mission of his trust was to maintain and improve the unique quality of life in the Waimea area by providing perpetual support for designated beneficiaries engaged in healthcare, education, and charitable support through the sound management of trust assets. And then that's an important, statement that guides a lot of our work. What we have the opportunity to do is to deliver on that. And I want to share a little bit about our strategy to do that. Mr. Smart designated 4 beneficiaries. I mentioned one of them, and Sandra, and she chairs the committee of this group of people. If you were to scroll up a little bit, you'd see Hawaii Community Foundation, but these 4 are North Hawaii Community Hospital, Hawaii Preparatory Academy, Parker School, and there you go, Hawaii Community Foundation organization that I came from and worked alongside Diane Chadwick, who's up here with us, active in our community. If we can go to the next slide. I want to share a little bit about why this statement is very important, but this preamble was something that was written by our staff. And I want to read it to you because this is our North Star. It's our anchor. It's a filter in which we approach our work. And it is slowly getting the traction that we hope it would as leadership as we look about our work going forward. So again, Parker Ranch will be revered as the premier ranching and land stewardship brand in the world. We are grounded in the virtues and values of the Hawaiian Paniolo and molded by the rich history of Hawaii. The Hawaiian word ho'omau, which means to persevere, is a word that resonated amongst a lot of our Paniolo and the people and our employees of our ohana. And that means to persevere. And through our 179 years, they sure have. And we still stand here today and stronger today than we were yesterday. The Paniolo worldview will be at the center of our business model and establish values that will result in strategies, directives, and disciplines that will define how we go about our work. So we felt it was very important to ground ourselves in a common anchor and a common way in which we're going to go about our work. And if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this evening, at least from my portion of the presentation, is on the next slide. You know, I spent, as a person introduced me, spent nearly 30 years of my career operating in the trust environment. Department of Hawaiian Homelands is a trust. They have beneficiaries, they have a commission, they have a department that executes on the purpose of that trust. Waimea Schools, same thing, same structure. Hawaii Community Foundation, Diane and I were responsible for administering over 2,000 different trusts. And when you work in that environment, you can't help but see, you know, some of the common, you know, mistakes or opportunities that are taken advantage of. And that's what we want to try to do with our preamble. So when Mr. Smart was alive, you know, he sat as a separate, you know, individual making decisions that he was passionate about. If he wanted to give a cowboy a home, he could do that. If he wanted to set aside land for a school, he could do that. He could do whatever he wanted with his property and with his assets, and he did, and he's remembered as such a generous human being that we want to see more of in our community. When he passed, his giving became formalized, and it establishes stakeholders that are accountable to delivering on that benefactor's wishes. And oftentimes, and it's set up to hold people accountable to deliver on the mission that Mr. Smart, you know, stated. And oftentimes, that structure is left undisrupted, and left undisrupted, they operate independent. And I really want to thank Sandra and the committee and Robbie and our board, because we're leaning in together and having a unified effort through our preamble. And that's what that preamble represents. It represents a converging of three stakeholders. I think legal entities is probably the wrong term, but it unites, you know, stakeholders to have a common vision and approach. And that builds the momentum and I think the confidence we need as an organization. It's a very important point in approaching what you're going to see with us. If we do better, our community should do better. Next slide. We have three goals for our three-year strategic plan that was adopted just a few weeks ago. Goal number one is to increase beneficiary distributions. Goal number two, to pivot to a business growth model, which Jacob is responsible for. And three is to strengthen our enterprise leadership. And I hope our presence here today and in other meetings will resemble and reflect some of that. The final opening words I want to say before I hand it over to Zach is just some opening comments regarding a regional plan, which Zach is leading. The regional plan approach, if you go to the next slide, is we're big enough to think regionally. And Waimea, as we've stated earlier, is an extremely unique community for many reasons of what we think about. But one of the unique assets that we have is we have very few landowners that hold very large pieces of property. And that if we can work together, you can really move the dial forward tremendously. And the regional plan that Zach's going to speak about intends to do that. And so I'm really excited. You're gonna see some of the byproduct of our early work already. Some of it you heard from Director Ed Sniffen in last month's presentation, but with that, I'll turn it over to Zach. Thank you, Zach.
Nice to see everyone. Last time I was here, I was talking about trees. We're talking about planning now, so buckle up. A little bit different topic. So as Micah said, in 2025, we kicked off a regional planning process, and really this is aimed at guiding the long-term stewardship of the land, both internally and regionally as a community, focusing on infrastructure and strategic growth. The plan's intended to guide our internal decision-making, strengthen coordination with our partners, and help advance projects that provide lasting benefits to the ranch, our beneficiaries, and the broader community. Next slide. Similar to the DHHL regional plans for Waimea, Nui, and Kauai, our plan is taking a long-range, place-based approach that reflects how land, water, and infrastructure function together across the ranch. It connects our day-to-day operations with longer-term planning so that near-term actions support rather than limit future opportunities as environmental, economic, and regulatory conditions continue to change. This map's really important. It shows the entire ranch. It's about 130,000 acres with multiple touch points to community, and the need to look within and also beyond our borders to ensure that community needs are being addressed. It's really important. Each color on this map, and will be reflected throughout the plan, is situated to reflect the Cowboys stations. So we have our Kohala section, our Waimea section, Waikiki section, and our Makahalal section. And we're really looking at it from that place-based approach. The plan is still in development. It's taking a little longer than we had anticipated because there's so much complexities and issues to be looked at. But I wanted to highlight 3 priority projects that were organically brought up through the early stages of this process. Next slide. The first is one that DOT head Sniffen brought up last meeting, is airport improvement project. And this is working with DOT, DWS, and the ranch to extend the water line out the airport to give the infrastructure needed for fire resilience, and also building out that facility to support future town growth. Next slide. The second is a project conceptually bringing Department of Ag water out along Mana Road to serve DHHL residents, Parker Ranch, who were currently on the DWS potable water system, and then out eventually to Niue and Honope'ia lands, where DHHL currently does not have water. This is a very conceptual project. There's a lot of red tape. We're dealing with multiple government agencies, each one of which has their own regulatory burdens to go through. But the drought last year really highlighted the need for more water in these agricultural environments. And really for us as a ranch, it's getting the right water in the right place. So as an ag water user, we prefer to be on ag water systems rather than a potable water system. So this is conceptual. We're working with Senator Tim Richards to get some funding appropriated this year for the design and planning of this, and hopefully bringing this project to fruition in the coming years. Next slide, please. The third, and I want to give a special thanks to Clem Lam for really pushing this project forward, is the Waimea Trails and Greenways project, increment 2, running from Kahawai Street down to the transfer station. The easement for this section has been in place for many years, but it has been non-functional. It's not wide enough and is in the stream in some sections. And so we're really working with the county and Waimea Trails and Greenways to identify a workable solution. That section is getting surveyed later this summer and hopefully wrapping that up by the end of the year. And again, thank you, Clem, for your persistence. I think this will be a fantastic community project. Next slide. I also want to bring up that we have our 62nd annual 4th of July rodeo and horse races coming up. This is a great event for the community. Doors open at 7:30. Events generally go to 2 p.m. This year, we're extending that to about 6 p.m. with some live music from various local artists. So we hope you all come out, enjoy the day, and get to see some great rodeo events. That's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Hi, Zach. I just wanted to know what your background is. Were you born and raised here and your education?
Sure. Yep. So I was born and raised in Hilo. I grew up in Volcano. Graduate of Waimea schools. Went to University of Hawaii at Hilo. Studied agriculture. Worked for almost every watershed partnership or government agency on Hawaii Island, strictly focusing on a conservation lens, stewarding some of our forest resources. And I've been working for the ranch for about 5 years.
Yeah, what about completing the third phase of Aloha? The connecting road?
Talk about the road?
Yes, I'm talking about the road, so.
Yeah, I think that's still in the planning stage right now. We're still looking at when that obligation would be required and triggered. And so we're still early in that discussion right now, but we're aware of that.
That's no question, more of a terrible omission of mine. I didn't mention at the top, I want to Mahalo Parker Ranch because the land that we're on here was one of those gifts from Richard Smart, when he was running Parker Ranch. It was gifted to Keck Observatory to build our headquarters here. And so that's another reason why we love having community in here. So mahalo to you folks.
I have a question.
Is there any update on the Lindsay Road extension from Malala Highway to Holloway Hill?
I would put that in the same bucket as the previous question, and when we do have more clear plans about when and how that's gonna happen, we'll be back in front of this community. I do wanna mention that we intend to have a presence here at every meeting. We can be here formally or informally, so don't ever feel like this is the last bite at the apple you're gonna get. Zach, myself, or Sarah will be here. So if you see us, pull us offline and we'd be happy to answer questions in the future that you may have or you may hear about in the community.
I have one here online. I'm not sure whether this is a Parker Ranch question, but regarding the trail, there have been county meetings in the past with the Hawai residents, of which Riley and I are a part of, and the Sandalwood residents. So the question is will there be more community meetings regarding the next phase? Maybe, do you guys know that, or should I let Clem respond to that?
At a high level, from the ranch perspective, I'm not aware of any community meetings for Waimea Trails and Greenways. That's, a separate organization, but, happy to talk about it from our perspective if anyone has any, specific questions to us.
You have any comment, Clem?
No, we don't have any community plans for, we've been waiting for some news from the county and from Parker Ranch to see what was gonna happen with the extension. But I'm sure we would be excited to let people know what's going on once we know what's going on.
Right. And I think James has a name, but I think there's some county projects for the end of the trail as well, right? Yeah. Other questions?
I would say though that from what I can see, there is tremendous momentum on this project. I know the mayor in Zach and my conversations with him and his managing director has targeted this project as one of his top priorities. And having that momentum behind us is going to be very, very powerful. And I know the governor would be very supportive of it as well.
I know you have some residential things that you're working on. I believe that's probably an update that you'll bring us at a later date.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're not prepared right now. We're in discussions with many potential partners, but when those items get solidified, we'd be happy to come back and inform the community about that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mike, you want to just update any storm impacts? Many areas on the island that issue or is everything what happened?
Yeah, I'd like to call up Jacob Tavares, who heads up our livestock operations. He can give you a quick update.
Yeah, so obviously that we were all impacted by the rain. You know, we had the big Kona low that came through, a little bit of a break, and then another big Kona low that came through. For us, it was mostly roads. We had quite a few fences, but they were constructed in a way where they were meant to kind of blow out. And then we come in and repair it. We move cattle away from roads, move cattle away from trees and fences, just so that, I mean, if you guys don't see cattle on the highway during a storm, we've done our job pretty well. So for us right now, it's about 5 miles of roads that got completely washed out. And that's that's more safety, to make sure the cowboys can get to and from some pretty challenging areas, in a good way. So we're making repairs there. Thankfully, nothing, impacted the public areas. So like West Hawaii concrete, all of that. Typically, we see a lot of impact there. And luckily, all of the drainage worked really well. The solar field that's right there by West Hawaii concrete, that's typically an area where we see a lot of water, and we didn't see any damage there either. So thankfully, a lot of the drainage systems that have been engineered and put in place function really, really well this storm. So
good job.
You know, before we step down, I do want to acknowledge the leadership of this organization. As I mentioned earlier, you know, organizations that I worked for prior to coming here were all statewide organizations. And I've had an opportunity to work in many communities throughout the state, and I've never operated in a community that had an organization that was as professionally run as this one. So to Nancy and your group, Uncle David, to Patty, and to Riley, and all of your board, congratulations on that, because it's such a great job.
Speak up. Yeah, go ahead.
Really good cooking. That was that beautiful woman right there.
Anything else? I thought you guys would have more questions tonight. We're ahead of schedule, which is kind of rare. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Chief Mahona, for coming, and your wife. Appreciate you being here in Waimea. Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, but our next meeting, May 7th is at Kahilu Town Hall. We're gonna have an early start because it's gonna be a longer meeting. We'll have some great panel discussions, and I hope you come and join us for that, so that we can all benefit. I'm sorry.
And there will be food.
And there will be food, yes. That's. Thank you, Diane. We will have food because it will be dinner time, so. Okay, well, thank you all for being here. Please travel safely as you leave, and we'll clear out the room rather quickly, so thank you for your cooperation.
Good management.